peace and blessing, love and light. And welcome to the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. Join us as we navigate in new spaces using our mental, physical, and spiritual toolboxes to create our peaceful existence. Sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired to transition and be transformed. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. Let's dive into the How Now. All right, peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond, and I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, holistic nutritionist, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And welcome to the show. Guys, this has just been such an exciting season for the How Now podcast. We are in season 6, where we've been talking about manifestation, and we've been talking about this being our year of execution, where we are taking the things that we learned in the 365-day challenge last year, where we were challenging our listeners to create healthy habits, mind, body, and spirit, and placing them in their mental, spiritual, and physical toolboxes. And now this is a year of manifestation, where we're seeing these things, the year of execution, where we're seeing these things come into fruition. And I'm seeing it in my own life, in my own business, and in this show. I have a beautiful new start to this show, and I've got some things going on that I'm excited to talk about. One of them being my new website, KimMartinRaymond.com, where we'll be talking about all things Kim Martin Raymond. My podcast, we'll be talking about my products and services and all things Kim Martin Raymond, my YouTube channel, all of these things. And so that is part of the manifestation that is taking place right here and right now on the How Now podcast. So I'm excited that you all are here. If it is your first time here, make sure that you go to my new website, KimMartinRaymond.com, and take a look around, see what's going on in my now, and click on everything. Find out about how you can be a part of the How Now family. Okay, so one thing that I want to talk about before we get into tonight's show is the 4 segments that we've been doing since this year started. One of those segments is talking about the 12 spiritual principles with Dr. Howard. And what he talks about is a principle each month that is personified, or he uses what we call a luminary, a person that represents each one of those spiritual principles, and he talks about each one of those a month. So that's one segment that we're doing, the 12 spiritual principles. And then we talk about living your purpose with Jason Gerardo, and he's just talking about the bridge technique, how we could talk about tearing down those walls and creating bridges so that we can have a more purposeful existence. Okay, and then we have the segment called Spirit Body Transformation, and that's where I share different aspects of my wellness journey. We talk about nutrition. I have special guests that come in and talk about their wellness journey and talk about other ideas for nutrition and wellness practices. And then finally, we have financial freedom with my guests who will be coming on to join me shortly as we talk about ways in which we can increase our financial fitness. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to bring my beautiful guest on stage. And as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her introduce herself at this time. Hello, my dear.
Wow, wow, wow. The How Now has gone to the next level. It's an honor to be here with you and your incredible audience. I'm so humbled to have this opportunity. My name is Leah Garcia, and I am the Dynasty Builder. I've been serving entrepreneurs and business owners for more than 2 decades, if you can believe that. I teach them strategies, how they can protect, distribute, and transfer their wealth. Listen, anyone can help you grow your money. That's one muscle, but I'm going to teach you how to protect what you've accumulated. I'm going to show you how to distribute that. In other words, how do you spend that money with wisdom? And then how do we transfer that wealth? Because you know what? It's not just what we accumulate here, but it's what do we pour into and leave to the next generation. Because if the money starts with us, in my humble opinion, that's called a disaster, right? It's time for us to flip the script from financial poverty into financial prosperity. So it's an honor to be here. We're going to talk about financial freedom. I mean, this is a great topic. You always come up with such great topics, and I'm excited. So let's jump into it.
Yes, let's dive in. I absolutely love that you're here and that you're talking about financial fitness and financial freedom, because that's something that is so critical to being able to move in certain ways, and I think that there are a lot of us who are limited by by a lack of finances, or like I said, or by a poverty mentality, and not realizing that, richness is not just something that is tangible and financial. There's a richness that comes in wisdom of how to use the resources that we have. There are so many ways that we can determine what that financial or what that wealth looks like. And I love that you're a dynasty builder and you talk about those different aspects. So I'm excited to dive into what we're talking about tonight. This month is what, we celebrated Independence Day not too long ago. And to be talking about financial freedom, because we're talking about the freedoms that we have as Americans and all the things, but it's wonderful to have that financial freedom, because it takes us to a different level and takes us to a different mind shift. And I'm saying mindset, but
look at you. Oh my gosh. Okay, I am just like so tickled. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So hopefully I'm going to share with you 10 golden nuggets on how to have financial freedom, right? Financial fitness, financial freedom. And I would say the first one is financial independence is about choices. Oftentimes people think I'm working towards retirement. I can't wait till I retire. But when we think about retirement, people used to not live as long as we are now. People think of some, rocking in a rocking chair, like crocheting granny squares, like they don't want to do that these days. We think of retirement, I call it a work-life option lifestyle, right? A work option lifestyle. We want to know that we have the option to work if we want to continue that second encore career, building that business, creating that dynasty. But we don't want to have to work. That's the difference. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you?
Makes perfect sense. That absolutely resonates with me. I think about my dad. My dad worked on Wall Street for 36 years, and he retired at the age of 50. My dad just turned 80. He retired 30 years ago. And has a work option lifestyle like you're talking about. He helps support a company that provides financial, education for young people. And him and my mom and my sister support this particular company, and it's an option. They've worked, they've retired, and now they go and they travel and they do the things that they want to do and enjoy life. And they have this option to do this little, this little side gig that they're doing, and it provides, opportunities for them to, be able to take trips and do the things that they want to do. But there's a release that comes with that. And it's beautiful, like you said, to have that option. And I get to see that through them. And my hope is to do the same, even though I'm 5 years behind or 6 years behind.
That's okay. That's okay. So, opportunity to push the restart button. That's right. That's totally okay. It doesn't matter where you started. All that matters is where you finish. And I have watched you grow. I'm just so honored to be a part of your growth. I'm telling you, it's just like a proud mama bear. Although, I'm not sure if I'm older or younger than you, but anyway, that's another story. So this is how I think about this, is that if we think about retiring into a rocking chair, there's no energy in that. There's no juiciness about that. But if we talk about leaving our initial career, and now we're going to build the business we dreamed about. Now we're going to go ahead and do that travel business, or we're going to start that podcast, right? That gives us that juice, that energy for life. I was recently sitting down with a couple. They're in their 50s, hardworking. Both have squirreled away, money over time. They don't really own their home. They don't have children. And they were just thinking retirement wasn't even an option. But as we peel back the onion, I discovered that they have a side business that is really incredible, that they kind of thought at some point maybe they might kind of tinker with it. Well, we started diving deep into it, and you should have seen what happened between them. They were just overjoyed. Like, I'm getting chills right now because they're thinking, wow, we can retire and we can have this business that we're going to build together and create these amazing medicinal products. So it's not just about the money. It's about, look at, now you're with your partner. They've been talking about building this business and they started dreaming. How many people stop dreaming, not just when they retire, but even through life?
That's right. That's right. They do. And I mean, people don't, like you said, the mind shift in retirement is something that's serious. We're seeing so many people traveling and so many people exploring and so many people, taking opportunities to begin to see the importance of their health, because we've seen the attachment of health and retirement and people being sick and having to retire because they're sick or because of a pre-existing condition. And so now we're seeing people who are taking their health more seriously. And those who are doing that are seeing that their retirement years don't have to be, like you said, in that rocking chair because of pre-existing medical conditions or because they haven't been taking care of their health. Now they're saying, I'm healthy enough to be able to go and explore and to do things. And I don't want to sit around. I want to move. So
there you go. There you go. We want to take that dream vacation we've always dreamed of, right?
Right.
Number 2 is income stops. Passive income works while you're sleeping. We got to develop passive income streams. And I like to think of it as, I call it MPI, massive passive income. So it's not just about accumulating a pile of money, although that is really, really cute. What's really sexy in my mind is that income that pays you while you're sleeping. That money that is working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Because if your money only makes money when you do, you're doing it all wrong. We're doing it backwards. We got to build up that income stream that comes to us. And I call it like paychecks and playchecks. We want to have some play checks when we retire. We don't want to retire and now we can't go anywhere. We can't go out to dinner. We can't get our nails done. We can't take that dream vacation. We want to have those play checks so that we can do the things that we want to do in retirement. Look at in retirement, like I was just looking at, people who've gotten older that I know, like personality wise, that are out in, the social media life and music and stuff. And they still look good. Yes. They still look good. I'm like, they don't look like they're in their 70s and 80s. Like we still look good. We want to be able to do good still. Right? We still want to be able to enjoy these things.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's important. Again, like you said, to taking a hard look at all right, where we are and where we're seeking to go and how we're going to get there and what we want to look like when we get there. I don't want to be run down and can't do things now that I'm in a season where I have some freedom to be able to spend my time. I don't want to spend it all sleeping. I don't want to spend it all, like I said, in pain. I don't want to spend it all feeling like I'm in recovery. I want to be able to, like I said, move and to do things and those people who are relaxed, those people who are have that little bit of financial freedom, you can see it in their skin. Their skin glows. Just like, my skin is glowing because I just came back from a wonderful vacation, but people who get to live that life and do it, like you said, have play checks and be able to do things. You're not waiting until the end of life to begin to live life. People are doing it now. People are going and traveling. And that's the thing. We're so used to, I think, in our age group, of squirreling our money away. And then we wind up having a pre-existing condition. And unfortunately, some people pass. And then all you're doing is passing that along to the younger generation who may sit there and blow the money on doing things. And you squirreled it away and you've done all the work just to hand it to somebody else. I don't want to do that. I want to spend it if I'm here to spend it. And I want to be here to spend it.
Absolutely. And I want to highlight a couple of things that you said there, because recently I did a podcast with a Gen Z. It was so much fun. They don't want to wait until they're 65 to retire. They're talking about working 15, 20 years. And then how do they go on and live their life and fire their boss and do all these things? And if all we do is accumulate this money, but we never spend it. That's why I say there is a systematic mathematical way to distribute your wealth. Okay, so that you never run out of money, because otherwise you save it, you don't spend it. I see so many baby boomers. They don't want to spend their money. They're afraid they're going to run out of money because they don't understand how to create those play checks, right? And so what they do is they pass away, and then guess what? They never joined the country club. They never went to Tahiti. They never bought the boat. But guess what their kids do? They join the country club. They go to Tahiti, they take all their friends, they buy a boat, they travel the world. Like, we got to start enjoying our wealth. What good does it do to amass a fortune if we never do anything with it?
And we've been conditioned to do it. I think, like you said, us baby boomers and Gen X, we were just conditioned to always just save your money, work hard, save your money, stay at the job as long as you can. And you have people who are job hopping and doing all of these things, quitting. You've got all of these things that we would have never dreamed of doing are now happening. And just like you're saying, people are starting to say, that work-life balance, the life part is starting to, go higher than that work part. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to work a little, but I'm going to live a little too. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's cool.
Number 3, and this one I want to really help to unpack this. Multiple streams of income, but so many people get this twisted up. They think this means that they have to run a podcast, become a real estate agent, sell vitamins, and then do Uber on the side. That is not multiple streams of income. To me, that is a nightmare, because you're constantly switching gears. You're thinking about how to do sales here. You're thinking about talking about vitamins on your show or whatever it is. Really, it's got to be in the same vein. Right. Okay. So, for example, just what you're doing, right? You've got your podcast, you talk about and you highlight those things, but within your podcast, if we start doing different things, real estate agent, and then I cut hair, like, your mind can't handle that.
Right.
You will burn out because you're going in different directions. I think of it like a gear shift. You're shifting gears constantly. If you don't do it right, this is old fashioned. They don't even have gear shifts anymore. But back in the days, you used to have to shift the gears. And if you don't, if you start doing it all crazy, you just ruin the engine. We got to stay within alignment with who we are. We got to stay in alignment with our core values, what is intuitive within us, rather than seeing your cousin Larry, who's a great realtor, bless his heart, but that's not in alignment with you. Otherwise, put the other things aside and then go be a realtor. And I hate to pick on real estate agents. That just to my mind, but whatever it is, I know a lot of people who are successful at real estate, but they stay within that same vein, right? They do things that are still within alignment. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'll even take this a step further, because one of my my scripture verses for this week was 1 Corinthians 14:40, and it talks about, let us do things in decency and in order. And when you talk about that in order part, it's talking about doing things systematically, making sure that we're doing things, like I said, that are in alignment, that we're doing things that are not creating chaos or confusion. And like you said, when you're going in so many directions at one time, that's what you're doing. You're creating a chaos and a confusion. And if you haven't learned how to transition, I think about when we do our day planners, some people plan all of these things and they've got all, but they don't factor in the time that it takes to transition from one task to another, or to transition from one place to another. So you're scrambling and you have not given yourself the opportunity to make that shift, so that way you can mentally prepare for that. I take the long way home when I'm getting home from work, because I want to be able to transition from my work hat and put on my mom and my grandma and my wife hat when I'm getting home. And those things are important to be able to make those shifts. And when we don't do that, and like you said, when we're going from one thing to another, the mental strain is worse than the physical. Think about those days when you've just done something and you've had to challenge, or your mind has been tasked so much that now you're mentally exhausted. That exhaustion far surpasses physical exhaustion from just doing things. The mental and all of those shifts that you're talking about making, just like you said, you'll drain yourself out. You will stress yourself out doing that.
That is burnout. That was fire. Rewind this. Watch that last 5 minutes. I'm telling you, there is so much wisdom. And I see so many people who are making that mistake. They don't build any white space in their book. They think they can go right from appointment to appointment. No, I always have a little white space. And just like you alluded to, if I'm going to go and be with my family, I got to download what I've done through the day, right? Say a prayer, take a shower, like take some time and have a cup of tea, do something so that you are triggering yourself and saying, okay, I'm leaving this here, which was wonderful. There's nothing wrong with work or whatever you're doing, but now I'm going into a different thing. And if you're constantly switching and not allowing yourself, giving yourself that grace, that's called burnout. That's when people feel exhausted, overwhelmed. People always ask me, like, how do you have so much energy? I'm like, because I'm in my vibe. Like, I could talk about money all day long, twice on Sunday. You could wake me up, bonk me on the head at 2:00 in the morning. In fact, I dream about talking about money. So, like, this is my momentum. This is what I do. This is what gives me zest. Sometimes, maybe I'm getting a little bit off track, but sometimes people are just taxing themselves and they're not giving themselves that grace. They're not transitioning. They're not really taking the time to say, okay, let me go ahead and close this up. That's why I think journaling is so powerful.
Yes,
write it out, do something, even if you don't show it to anyone, even if you don't write words, you just scribble on a piece of paper. I've done this before.
Yep.
And then just, throw it away, toss it away. Okay, that was yesterday. That was great. Now I'm going on to something else. So that is really brilliant. You're so brilliant.
Oh my goodness. Like what you're talking about, that white space is so important. We have to factor those things in. We have to give ourselves an opportunity to process the things that have been downloaded into us and to be able to release those things. And if we don't do that, like I said, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And it's important because it does wrap around financial, because then what happens is when we're not thinking clearly, we don't make the best financial decisions. Mm-hmm. Think about that. I mean, and something so simple as we're running and we're scrambling, so we don't have time to prepare meals like we need to. So now we're going and we're getting fast food, or we're paying for overpriced food in the streets because we're so busy scrambling and running to get to the next thing. And so, yes, all of these things intersect. That's why we talk about mind, body, spirit. All these things, they intersect at some point. Our financial freedom is affected when we, just like you said, when we're not stopping and taking time to process, we start making decisions that are going to affect us financially. We didn't think about it. We're rushing. We didn't stop to get gas. Now our car broke down. All of those things begin to have a domino effect if we're not careful.
Something that was fire.
White space.
No, you're so on point. And to your point, I carry water around with me all the time, because what do most people do? Oh, I'm thirsty. Run through the drive-through. I don't just think about the money. I think about the time. I actually have food here at my office. I mean, I work downtown. There's tons of food places everywhere. Any kind of food you want.
Right.
But it's not just the expense, but it's also the time. It is quicker for me to have something right here that I can eat, that's nutritious, that I picked, than it is to go. Because then if you do, I live in Monterey. Listen, it's gorgeous here. Then you don't want to come back to work, right? You just want to stay out there and play. And we've got to kind of have the work days too. So that was really good.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said, it's important that we realize how much, we're weaving a perfect cloth for us, something that's going to comfort us, something that's going to be a level of security for us. So what
Yeah.
type of blanket, so to speak, are you weaving for yourself? Does it
Ooh.
have a bunch of holes in it? Or is it something that's going to keep you warm, that's going to provide that safety that you're looking for? We've got to think about the threading and how all of these things intersect and how they're going to help us to be successful.
That's a beautiful metaphor. I think of a beautiful quilt. You know, I know a few people that do quilting and they take these pieces of material that you're like, oh, that what? And then they put it together. It's like, whoa, it's spectacular. So I love that analogy.
That's right. All right, Doug, you said we're moving along here.
So we're moving along. So number 4, listen, your bank is not evil. Okay. And if your bank was so evil, why are you putting your paycheck in there every month? Okay, every week, every day. It's just that they know how to leverage and use your money better than you do. And let me ask you a question. Is our money back there in a little pretty little box with a bow on it, with your name on it when you put your money? No, where's your money when you put it in the bank?
It's in the bank.
This is not okay.
No, it's being invested. Like I said, it's
Right.
moving through and
That's
being
right.
used for other things. Like you said, they're not saying, "Oh, we
If
can't
you
use
don't
it."
believe me,
That's all.
absolutely. If you don't believe me, go and try to take out $10,000 if you have $10,000. You know what the bank's going to say? We have to order it for you. They can't even give you $10,000. Okay. They have to order it. Takes a few days. You got to sign some papers. I mean, it's like craziness. So what I'm saying is you got to look at options on how to create your own bank. Okay. Family bank principle, it's having cash value life insurance. And I know you're going to see a lot of things on TikTok and social media, and most of that is embellishing. Okay. I'm talking about real cash value life insurance that you're going to start investing in, that is truly going to be something. And it's not even an investment. Okay. It's life insurance, but that's something that you or even your beneficiaries, your heir, can pull money out and then pay themselves back. What if when you wanted to buy a car, instead of going and getting a car note and paying 8, 10, 15%, you went to your family bank and you paid 5% interest, 4% interest? Mm-hmm. What if when you wanted a down payment for a home, you had a family bank that you can pull from? Like, this is real strategy. So, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. Don't just think you could go online and just buy some term life insurance. That's not what it is. It takes more presence. You have to really, you know, understand how it works. But just something I wanted to sprinkle in there. Instead of always being leveraged, listen, the bank is leveraging our money. Do you know that for every dollar the bank you put in the bank, your bank used to be able to leverage it 8 to 10 times?
Oh, wow.
However, footnote, during the pandemic, they were given unlimited opportunity to leverage out that dollar as many times as they needed to. Wow. Let me say that again. $1 used to be leveraged 8 to 10 times. That means that they would lend out that $1 to 8 to 10 people. Car notes, student loans, credit cards. Now they have no cap to how many people. They're trying to pull that back again. But during the pandemic, they gave the banks the ability to re-lend out that dollar as many times as they needed to. So these are real things. We have to start taking responsibility and looking towards our money.
Wow. I would have never, no cap at all. And no pun intended with the no cap now, since that's what kids say.
There you go. No cap.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's scary.
That's why we have to stop being the one receiving the loans, and we got to start being the lender. That's how we change our family's dynasty forever. And listen, I don't care how little of money you think you have or think you don't have. We can all change our last name forever. Okay, it takes some planning, it takes some discipline, but there's things like somebody's got to break the mold. Somebody's got to do something different. Somebody has to do something other than what's already been done. Is that fair to say?
That absolutely makes sense. And it also shows me how important it is to partner with a financial advisor or someone who can help us, because there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that we have not learned. And I'm like, okay, I, it can be confusing. It can be daunting. And if you're not familiar with, like you said, life insurance policies and with what does it mean when she's talking about, creating wealth and things like, if we don't know the terminology, it's important for us to seek out people like yourself and that can help with that can assist with that, because there's so much that we don't know. And I think that fear is the biggest factor in us being able to be financially free, because we're not asking the questions because we don't know what to ask.
There you go. That's right. And let me help your audience to really understand that cash value life insurance has been around a long time. It is considered a tier 1 capital asset. That is the highest, safest, secure thing that you can have, that you can put your money into. And by the way, this is how your bank is rated. If you don't think life insurance is running this country, is behind everything that we do, go and look up your bank. I don't care if it's a credit union. I don't care what type of bank it is. Every bank is going to have how much assets they own in life insurance.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
So this is real stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This is real stuff. Did that blow your mind?
Yes. Yes, it did. That's one of those things where, rewind and go back and listen to that again, because there's so much that I think that we don't know, and that we need to be made aware of, and to begin to practice. Again, we're talking about creating healthy habits. We have to be able to exercise our financial muscles just as much as our other muscles, so that way we can be in alignment and with getting to the next level. We can't get there if we don't know.
No, we cannot. No person succeeds alone.
No.
Do good with what you do. If you're a podcaster, you're a minister, whatever you do, stay in that wheelhouse. Hire the experts to do the other things for you, right? Let them be the expert in what they do. I mean, you have an amazing website. Did you do it all yourself, or did you hire somebody who let them listen? I say let them be the expert in that.
That's it. We both know what that means and what that's about. And we have to be able to invest in ourselves, and not just physically and mentally, but financially as well, to invest in ourselves. And we can see how things change, and how our, the first thing that you said was choices, how we're able to make different choices when we're in a different place financially. There may be things, I can't do that because I don't have it. We have to begin to take those steps. We have to begin to make those choices that are going to help us to make better choices, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes total sense. It starts with taking one action. I think I talked on your show about the power of the penny. And you know what? Now pennies are going to be extinct, but guess what? If you've been practicing the power of the penny, me and my precious grandson, we're saving pennies, right? We're looking for pennies older than 1982, 1981 and older. And he's 7 years old. He knows. And so funny, he went to a camp, a summer camp, and they were collecting in the offering, and they asked him to bring change. And then he brought a bunch of change from his piggy bank, but he saw that a couple of the coins were older. He put them out. He said, but Cams, I went the next day and I brought them other money. I said, okay, that's good. And he goes, I mean, look at, the children will pick this stuff up. I promise you. This is like you were talking about. This is the intellectual property that we can transfer to them. Yes. So number 6, you ready for number 6?
Ready for number 6.
It is not what you make, it's what you keep that matters most. That's why I say most of us are playing money checkers. We make some money to pay some money. We make some money to spend some money. We make some money to give it to Uncle Sam. We got to start learning how to play money chess. Okay. And what I mean by that is you got to leverage the tax code. There are like 70 or 80,000 pages in the tax code. I don't know how many pages there are. Your tax professional probably doesn't know how many pages there are. Most people know 2 tax codes, W-2, 401k. That's it. They don't know anything else. Okay. We got to get beyond that And maybe I'm not saying you got to go out and be a tax professional. What I'm saying is we got to start leveraging the people who understand the tax codes. They got to teach us how to play that money chess. It's really about understanding the rules of the game. And one of the CPAs I work with, she explains it this way. The tax code is a treasure map, and it tells you how to find the treasure. But most of us never look at the map, so we never get all the treasure. We have to understand the tax code teaches us what to do, how to spend less money on taxes, how to keep more of our hard-earned money in our pocket. And it goes way beyond just being a simple W-2. That's why I'm saying we got to have multiple streams of income. We got to have another business. I don't even like to call it a side hustle because I think that diminishes it. We got to have extra income. Listen, every time I open up, I'm going to say the newspaper, but we don't look at the newspaper, but whenever I do see the news on Google and have you, there's some company laying off, some company going out of business, restaurants closing, banks closing, companies, big companies. Now they've got AI. If you got all your eggs in that one basket, you're in trouble.
That's right. That's right. Like I said, I love that you talk about being able to stay in alignment, and we have to really start looking at some of our talents, because so many of us have hidden talents that we're not even tapping into. I think about just online, all of these talented people who come up with all of these things that have us all scrolling for hours. Okay, on end. We can't put our phones down at night because we're scrolling and we're giggling and we're kicking and we're and people need to really see what are some things that I can monetize that I'm doing that I love, and I'm still in that process of figuring out how do I go about monetizing some of these things I'm doing. And we really have to start asking the questions, start seeking out people who can help us to align those things that you're talking about, and how can we market those things or monetize those things, and it's something, like you said, that we simply enjoy that thousands of people are tapping into, and we're just letting that money sit on the table. They always say that, don't just let that money sit on the table, and we do that all the time.
Yeah. And I would say if you've got an inclination for something, listen, that comes from somewhere. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's poured into you, whatever you believe, right? I believe, it comes from God, but whatever you believe, it's coming, that inspiration's coming from somewhere. And this is what happens. If we don't take advantage of that, if we don't leverage it, you know what happens? That idea goes to someone else.
That's right.
And then you're going to say, I thought about that. I could have done that. Well, that was so easy, but guess what? You didn't do it. So we got to start taking action. And just like what you're doing, you start tinkering. Start a podcast. You start talking to people. You're going to figure it out along the way. We gotta be like Play-Doh. We got to be willing to get in there and start playing around with things. And throughout, you might think you're going to one path, and then through that, something you say, a conversation, someone you meet opens up a complete different door that you never knew about. But you never find that if you didn't start tinkering, you didn't start playing around with it.
Right. And if you're not open-minded and you're not willing to listen, they always say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen more than you speak. Listen to the things that are going on around you. Listen to some of the things that people are saying. And again, this is an information age. So we have access to so much more than the little, card catalog that we used to have at our local library, that we used to, that's all that we knew. Now we're open into we can go on Google, ChatGPT, AI, all of these things, and now find out all of this information. And it's just a matter of asking the right questions and seeking, the right information. So that way we know how to move. And again, some of it comes from fear. Some of it comes from limiting beliefs. I don't think I can do that. Oh, that's ridiculous. There are a whole lot of people out there, inventors who came up with things that people thought, well, oh, that's ridiculous. And those are now so much a part of our lives. And somebody thought of this. Somebody thought it was ridiculous. But if these people didn't listen to them, if they say, oh, that's a ridiculous idea, don't do it. there are so many things that we would not be able to do now. Simple things like writing with this pen or sitting here talking into this microphone, this technology. There are just so many things that are.
Look at this thing. Absolutely. You know what this is?
Is that is a brace for your phone?
It's a laptop stand.
I mean, a
And
laptop
look at what this does. Look at what this does. This is my travel laptop. I mean, I love this thing. And I'm so grateful. This cost maybe $10. I don't know, but look at somebody thought of this. And everybody, I don't know. This is how I think. Everybody has those thoughts. We're not a lack for thoughts. We're not a lack for ideas. We're a lack for taking action. We got to be action takers, just like what you're talking about for this year. This is your year of action. Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
That's it. We have all of these things, and like you said, and then we gatekeep. We want to hold it. We don't want to give it to anybody. We don't want to share it, and we're doing ourselves a disservice. And then it's always, oh, well, I should have just went that. Oh, I should have. Everything is I should have, would have, could have. Why didn't we? We lack the ability to act.
There you go.
Because we allow fear and we allow someone else's thoughts to keep us from moving forward.
There you go.
And you don't want to wait until you get, into your twilight years and you start reflecting, because then I don't want to spend the rest of my life in regret.
Boom.
I'm going to be 90 years old saying, boy, back when I was 56, I could have been doing this and that. Because by then it's too late. I want to be able to act on it now. And so, like you said, we've got to begin to have a different mind shift and start talking about how to take action. Everything is about putting one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely. And if you're scared, that's okay. If you don't know how, you know what? Anyone who's ever done anything great didn't know how they were going to do it. You're in good company, right? So, and there are so many people who are willing to help. Just reach out to people. I mean, you would be shocked. I reach out to people and I ask them questions like, be a child, be curious. And you know what? If somebody says no, keep asking, because the right person will say yes.
That's right. That's right. I love that. It's all about communication. And, that's something that even though we have all of this technology, how is it that we have that we lack good communication skills when we have all these different avenues in which to communicate? Think about that. But we want to sit there and we hide behind text messages that don't allow us to see each other's emotions. We're constantly hiding behind the communication instead of allowing it to empower us. And then what happens is we can't get in front of people. We don't know how to speak. We don't know what to say because we haven't had the opportunity to use that throat chakra, that muscle that's in between our head and our body. Using that to talk about and communicate about the things that we need and the things that we're having questions about. We hide behind this communication, and it's such an opportunity. All of these podcasts, all these things that we're doing are opportunities for us to share information, for us to communicate back and forth, and we tend to hide behind it instead of using it to advance ourselves and to advance our quality of life.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast right there.
That's a whole show right there. Writing it down.
Number seven, right? So income buys things. It can buy cars, houses, but passive income buys time. If you're not picking this up, financial independence means having additional income stream. We got to build passive income. And what does that mean? That means that we are making money while we sleep. That means that you have something for sale somewhere, somehow, that people can go on, click a button, and buy something, purchase something, support something, and somehow money comes into your bank account. We got to figure out ways to do that. And in the beginning, maybe that passive income buys you an extra time with your kids. Maybe it buys you a nice little dinner with your family. Maybe it buys you some time off to go to Jamaica. It may start smaller, but guess what happens? Passive income does this. Real passive income will, what I call it is compound pounding. Okay. It means that passive income, if you do it right, is going to grow from here. Maybe it starts with that penny, but then it grows over time. and it starts to compound. What compound interest is, so that people understand, compound interest means you start to make money on money you never invested. Okay, that's compound interest. Compounding is now when that money starts to make money. And passive income, true passive income, should start to have not just compound interest, but compound pounding, right? So it continues to grow and, really could even grow past you, beyond you, so that you can leave that legacy to your children's children.
Wow. I like that. And it's the simple terms like this that make it more palatable, makes it more understanding. I need layman's terms because I don't know all of the things, but because you hear about compound interest, I think about, oh my goodness, I'm thinking about credit cards. I'm saying, wait a minute, what? And how does that work? And what does it mean? All we know is that the bill is coming and we have to pay it. But we need to understand what that means and how that affects us and how it affects our spending and saving, and how those things, like I said, are necessary to discuss with someone who has that financial understanding, that backing, who can break things down. Okay, because for me, you can tell me today, and then an hour from now or tomorrow, if I'm lucky, I'll remember. I'm old. Okay. But just like you said, you want to be able to continue to tap it. It's creating, like you said, exercising that financial muscle so that way it begins to become a part of your vocabulary. It becomes a part of your life. You begin to understand and how to work things. People who know how to use coupons and things like that. There's an art to those things. There's a level of understanding that comes when they're doing that. They know what it means. They know how to look at those people who can go in there and say, oh, I'm going to buy this. Oh, how much is it per pound? Oh, wait a minute. No, if I buy this, it's better for me to buy it this way. It's more economical. If I get more, I'll get more if I do that. There is an art to that. Just like there's an art to anything that we do. And it's just a matter of becoming familiar with it and then having it become habitual. And those become things that become second nature to you.
Absolutely. It's building that atrophy muscle. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Maybe you learn how to make these granny squares. And I don't know why I'm on granny squares right now, but I just had this vision that you talked about, like making these quilts and stuff. But maybe you had a grandparent that did that, and now suddenly you take that to a whole different level. You learn how to make those granny squares or make that beautiful quilt. Maybe you learn how to cut the pieces out. I see people who actually just cut out the pieces for the quilt maker, and then they put it all together. There's no limit. Today we have YouTube, we have podcasts. It doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't cost you thousands of dollars. Remember back in the day, if we wanted to start a business, what do we have to do? We had to go try to get a loan. We had to try to take out money on our credit card. We had to try to mortgage our house. We don't have to do that anymore. It costs you $5.99 nothing to start a podcast, right? It costs you a doggone thing. And maybe that's not where you end. Maybe that isn't where you monetize. But when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. You're going to find opportunities that were hidden in those nooks and crannies, hidden under the sofa cushions, right?
That's it. I love that. I'm writing down what you were saying. When you change the way you look at things,
that's Wayne Dyer. That's Dr. Wayne Dyer.
I love that.
Love that.
And that's important. It's important that, like you said, we begin to have that mind shift, and we begin to look at things differently. And I spoke about this recently in a show with my other co-host Jason, and we were talking about looking at things through a different lens.
Yes.
And just the way we look. You can't put on my glasses and see the things that I see the way I see them. Okay, you may put them on and go, my goodness, you're blind as a bat. Or I may put on your glasses and say, oh, wow, there's no strength. I can't see anything. We're always looking at things through a different lens. And so we have to be able to make sure that the things that we're seeing are through a lens that we can process. I'm not going to see things the way that you see things. I need to make some adjustments in mine, or I need to make some adjustments in yours so that I can see things clearly. So it's really important to consider that when we're talking about things, everybody's financial portfolio is not going to look like someone else's. There may be similar things. We all may have money in the bank, but do we all have the same amount? No. Are there different interest rates and things for the money that's in there? Yes. So there are going to be differences. Even though there are some similarities, we have to see those little outliers that are going to be different for each of us and figure out, okay, what little shifts do I need to make that's going to personalize it and that's going to maximize it for me and for my family and for my dynasty. My dynasty is not going to look like yours because it may not have started like yours. And it's going to finish that way. Yeah.
A true family plan, financial plan is custom. It is like your fingerprint. It is custom to you. Otherwise, you don't need anyone. Anybody can do a cookie cutter. You can go online and do a cookie cutter yourself, right? But if you want true financial wealth, if you want true financial strategy, it's going to be custom designed, tailored to you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We got two more. Wait, do we have three more or two more?
I think we got three more. Number 8, your wealth, your financial freedom should outlive you. So if your money is just taking care of you, in my humble opinion, that is not financial freedom. It is creating that generational wealth, building that family dynasty. And this is what most people do. And it makes me so sad because I see people who do this over and over and over again. You know, they work hard, they pay off their home, and they leave it to their children. Say they have 2, they have 5 children. And guess what their children do? They can't afford to keep it up. They can't figure out how to work together. They can't figure out how to pay the mortgage or to pay the taxes if it's paid off. So they sell it. I mean, that is not creating a family dynasty. Creating a family dynasty is something where it takes care of your children's children. So understanding how to change that thinking, right? We got to change that thinking and change the structure. It's really how we structure it so that maybe you leave it in a trust and you leave the assets to be able to pay the taxes so they can pay the taxes, they can keep the upkeep, and now it starts to become an asset. Otherwise, all we've done is, to me, again, we've almost just created a disaster. Like, maybe it's nice that you leave your family an inheritance, but if you have an asset like a home, you could do so much more than that, where you truly do change your family's last name forever.
Right. And I think it's important, like you said, if you don't educate people, you can give them money, but if you've never taught them how to manage money, they're going to blow through it.
There you go.
And it's a way. So it's no win if you don't educate those who you're going to leave your dynasty or your legacy to. Because, and like I said, again, that goes back to gatekeeping. If I gatekeep all the information and I don't teach my daughter or my granddaughter, then I'm doing them a disservice. Because then when I hand it to them, all of these things that I've learned how to structure and manufacture, and I turn over to them, and they haven't gathered or gleaned the knowledge that I've learned, it's a waste. It's a bust. Like you said,
They're starting over again.
I don't know what to do.
That's right. They're starting over again. We got to stop starting over again. We have to transfer not just our wealth, but I talk about the 7 F's, right? We got to transfer our intellectual property, our lessons, things that we did right and things that maybe we could have done better, so that they learn what it means to have this wealth and what they're going to do with it. So we should build something that someday our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren will thank us. That's right. And it starts with us.
It starts with us. All right. We have 2 more, right?
Number nine, this is one that I love, the matching grant. I just did a whole article about this. I just did this with my precious grandson. Instead of leaving your children an asset, or your grandchildren or your siblings or your, whoever it is, leave them a matching grant. Okay. So if, let's say you put together your family dynasty, you put together your trust, instead of leaving money outright, they got to have some skin in the game. So if they want to buy a car, let's say the grant is $10,000, they got to bring $10,000 in. They want to buy a house, let's say the down payment, you give them $100,000, they got to bring in $100,000. That's so powerful. I just did this with my precious grandson. He wanted a 3D printer, and they cost several $100s. And by the time you put all the things together, he's 7 years old. he had this dream that he wanted, and he kept talking about it, but that's a big investment, right? So
Right.
we talked about it. I said, okay, how about you save up some money, but you achieve this goal, and Gam Gams will match you. Okay, so he had this reading goal that he set, and he actually achieved it at the very last day that he had. He achieved his reading goal, so he already knew that was his matching grant, right? So he went to his piggy bank, he pulled out his $100 and so, right? And so he brought some skin in the game, and then I matched him. And guess what happened? He was so overjoyed and so proud. It's different than giving something to somebody. He earned it. He squirreled the money away. He talked about it. He researched all about it. He knew all about it before we even got it. When we picked it out, he went on YouTube. Like, he was learning what to do, how this works. Like, he knew all the things about it. I'm like, oh my, he's 7 years old. Imagine what that does for an adult. Like, this is empowering people. It's not just about having money. We have to create that intellectual property. We got to build up that atrophy muscle that teaches them to step into prosperity.
Yeah, and to teach them value. When we're giving them things, they don't see the value in it. But just like you said, having that skin in the game changes everything, because it's like, wait a minute, I paid for this, and so I'm not going to break it. I'm going to be careful with it, because I understand the value. We're teaching them value. Those are things that are core values, and those are going to be things that they can carry over, not just financially, but personally, professionally, as they're continuing to grow. We've got to definitely exercise that muscle and do that for our youth. Absolutely. All right, the final one.
Number 10 is, if you're hearing this, if you're connected to Miss Kim, it's because you're the one in your family. You're the one in your family that's supposed to prosper. You're the one in the family that's supposed to change your family's last name forever. Sometimes people think that, oh, well, you know what? I wasn't born rich and wealthy, and that's okay. But if we weren't born rich and wealthy, guess what? A rich and wealthy family has to come from us. We got to flip the script. And maybe that means that you amass a multi-million-dollar estate. I don't know. But maybe that means you're the first one in your family to be totally, completely out of debt. Maybe that means you're the first person in your family to own your home. Maybe that means you're the first one in your family to take a real vacation. Listen, I didn't take a real vacation until I was an adult. We never went anywhere. Right? Once in a while, we went on these camping trips, which they were a little sketchy, so we won't even go there. I was like, I don't even know how I lived through that. But so whatever that means for you. But see, then we raise the bar. And then guess what? The next generation isn't starting all over again. They're not starting from zero. They're starting from that bar, and now they can go up to the next one. Because you know what I see so many times is that people do amass this fortune, and then they just give it away. And to me, it's like, what they did was, instead of protecting the seed, they destroyed the seed. They tore it up. They put it in the trash can. And your heirs may feel like they enjoyed that money that you left them, and I'm sure that they probably will. But what if you set up something that outlived them? And maybe it's millions of dollars. Maybe it's $50,000. I did this for one of my clients. She, single mom. We did it with $50,000 from her life insurance. So don't think you have to have $50,000 in cash. We did it with a $50,000 life insurance policy that just about anyone can qualify for. Anyone can get $50,000 in life insurance. So we could all start somewhere. It is absolutely possible, but it's understanding the rules of the game. We got to stop just saying, you know what, I don't understand that. It's too confusing. I'm not going to worry about it. No, it starts with us. That is our fiduciary responsibility, to leave our generation better than we found them.
Absolutely. I mean, and I love that. And like I said, as we go to wrap things up, it's so important that the common denominator in all of this is us. It's starting with us, and breaking any generational curses, so to speak. Making sure that, again, we're passing along those things that we're learning. Just like we were talking about passive income, we're talking about also passing along things that are going to help that's going to help our our seeds to grow. Like you said,
Yeah.
we're not stunting our growth by keeping things to ourselves. We're passing it along to our families so that way we're continuing that legacy. We're not starting it and then, like you said, having it stop and then have to start all over again. Because if we know it and we're not willing to share it, they may never have an opportunity to know it. They may be able to, you can go online now and, like you said, become a YouTube sensation, and next thing you know, you're amassing all of this money. We didn't have those opportunities. We had to work hard and we had to go to school and we had to do all of these things to be able to amass money. Now you have people who are becoming, millionaires overnight.
Right.
And they're having so many opportunities, and we have to grow with the opportunities that are now afforded to us as well. We have to be able to go on board and say, all right, there's a possibility that tomorrow I can be a millionaire. It's not out of the realm of possibility. So what am I going to do when I amass this amount of money? We have to start
thinking. Set the table. That's right. You got to set the table. Be prepared.
In mind, what is going to what happened? When I amass this, that's how we have to start thinking, that mind shift. When I amass this, what is going to be the first or the second thing that I'm going to do? What is something that I'm going to need to do? What are some things that I can do in preparation for that? We have to start preparing for what is already destined to be ours.
There you go. There you go. Woo!
Important. So, wow. Like I said, this has been just another amazing, show talking about financial freedom and talking about ways in which we can begin. You don't have to, to implement all 10, but start looking at things and say, okay, what is something that I can do today? What is something that I can start working on now? What are some ways that I can start preparing that table that has already been prepared for me? Okay, those are things that are important. So before we go, I want you to make sure that as you have been watching the show, across the bottom of the screen, make sure that you are going to my website, KimMartinRaymond.com. Make sure that you go to my YouTube channel. And also, if you want to get in contact with Leah and her amazing services and all of the wonderful things that she can do to help you get financially fit, make sure that you go to her website, www.leahgarcia.io. Okay, and check out those products and services. Okay, any last words that we want to leave with the listeners before we go regarding financial freedom?
Yeah, I would say you can do it. It is possible. It might seem like it's daunting right now. Like Miss Kim said, pick one thing. Pick one thing and just do it. And if you need some help, call me. Sometimes we just need a travel buddy, right? Maybe you need all of my services, but maybe you just need a little bit of guidance. Maybe you just need a cheerleader. Sometimes it's difficult to take that first step. Listen, I don't even know how to say this, but so many of my clients that I started working with started with nothing, just starting with a vision. And I know what it is, okay? I believe that I have been given a gift to see the greatness in people. And I have my clients now, they're getting older. They've got their businesses have been going for 10, 20 years. And now it's like, oh my gosh, Leah, look at where I am now. So you can absolutely do it. It is possible for every single one of you. If you're listening to this, it is possible for you.
All right. You heard it here, Leah. Thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to our financial fitness for next month. Make sure that you tune in. Go back and check out the shows that you may have missed with Leah. She's been doing this with me since the beginning of this year. So we are 6 shows. We're now 7 shows in. Go back and check it out. So that way you can begin to prepare yourself and begin to build that financial muscle. Get in tune, get in shape, so that way you can finish the year strong and start moving in that direction that's going to take you towards that financial freedom that is yours to have. Okay. And with that, I'm going to say thanks again for being here. Love you, darling. I'll see you next week. And thank you all for joining us here at the How Now podcast. And until we see each other again, I say peace.
Peace.